Hey everyone, today I will be discussing my predictions for Bayern Munich's ratings in FIFA 22. Let's get right into it. Welcome back to Talking Bayern, the one-stop shop for Bayern Munich content on YouTube. Based on our strong performance last year, I'm expecting some pretty strong overalls for Bayern Munich this year. I'll show the differences between the card they had this year and the card I expect them to get next year, as well as why I do expect them to get that rating. So first we have Nianzu. He did not have a card last year, so I'm not having huge expectations for him. He's still obviously very young as well, so I'm going to go with a 70 overall for Nianzu. So next we have Sarr. I do think he will be a 74 overall this year, a massive -3 downgrade. He's certainly not met expectations for the club. He just has not been playing well. We've given him plenty of opportunities, and I know he had some opportunities at the beginning of the season, but Stanisic kind of took that opportunity right from him. And, you're going to play the better player there. Sarr has been struggling, so that's just why Bayern Munich is trying to get rid of him. Unfortunately, they could not sell him in this window, but I would not be surprised to see Sarr sold in the next couple transfer windows. I'm sure that is in their plans. So I'm going to go with a 74 overall. Next, I'm going to go with Marc Roca. He was a 77 overall last year, a nice gold card. I do think he will be dropped this year to a 75. He didn't get much time on the pitch to show himself, but I don't think he's done anything to keep at a 77 overall. So that's why he's going to get that 75 overall downgrade. Next, we have Omar Richards, and this is an interesting one. I didn't see him play a whole lot last year, but I've heard very, very good things, and I'm sure that is why Bayern Munich signed him. But I have liked what I've seen of him in the short amount that I've seen. So I'm going to give him a 76 overall, earning that gold card. He was a 70 overall last year, a silver, so I think he'd be very happy with a 76 overall this year. Next, I'm going to go with Chupo Motang, and this is actually one of the harder ones I struggled with. He has a 75 last year, so pretty low rating, especially as a backup striker for such a strong team. But I'm going to give him a 77 this year. I know he did well at the end of last season during the Champions League, covering for Levanowski, but the truth is, in a lot of the season, he just wasn't scoring the goals when he came from for Levanowski earlier on the season. I know there was a really long chunk of games where he did not score a goal. I get that those weren't all 90-minute play times, but still, I was expecting him for Chupo Motang, and of course, at the end of the year, he did do better. So I'm going to bring it up to a 77, but I wouldn't put him any higher than maybe a 78. Any higher than that, I would disagree with. The next is going to be a very interesting one, Jamal Musial. He did not have a card in FIFA last year, so it's pretty hard to base on what overall he's going to be. I do think he's a much, much higher overall than this. I think he's much, much better than this, but I'm going to give him a 77. And my reason for that is that FIFA slowly gives upgrades to young players who might be better. Let's say Holland last year was only an 84 overall to start, but he was playing at a level much, much higher than that. But since he's so young and he wants to prove himself, FIFA's pretty cautious on giving people upgrades early on in their career. So for that reason, I'm just going to give Musiala a 77. However, I do think he is much better than that in real life. Next, we have Sven Ulrike. I'm going to give him a 78 overall. He was a 79 overall last year, and we haven't seen a whole lot of him, but he's done the job he needs to do in that time. So I'm going to give him a 78. I know he's getting older, so I think that's a pretty fair rating. Next, we have Corentin Tolisso. So last year he was an 80, a pretty solid all-around card. I'm going to drop him down to a 79. I know he didn't really play much, but in the short stints that we did see him, I didn't see anything too impressive. So I'm going to drop him down just to a 79. But I think it's a pretty fair rating for Tolisso, and judging on his injuries, I think we can't really give him anything more than that. So Pavard is another player I'm going to give a slight downgrade to. I really like Pavard. I'm sure you're going to hear a lot about that at the channel, that I do really like Pavard. But I'm going to give him a -1 downgrade this year. I do think he should have been higher than 81 last year, to be fair. But I'm going to give him an 80 this year just because his performances last year were a little inconsistent. So I think we'd like to see a little bit more consistency out of him. But I do think he will improve from 80 if he has a really good year. Maybe he can go to an 82. Or higher if he has a really good season, but for this season I think it's appropriate to give him an 80 overall. One of the players I expect to make a significant overall increase this year is going to be Upamecano. He was a 79 at Leipzig last season, had quite a few special cards, so I am expecting him to get that increase to an 82. I think is fair. Obviously he put a masterclass against Barcelona. I do think 82 is fair. As I said, maybe he's more like an 83, 84 in real life, but they are pretty slow at giving out high overalls early on in people's careers. So I think 82 is what he's going to get. Next, we have Alfonso Davies, and this is one of the ones that has already been leaked, so actually I do already know his overall. He did receive an 82 this year, which I think is spot on. I think that's fair. I do think that he's a very, very special player and extremely talented, and we all know that. But I do think he didn't progressing the way we wanted to last season. Expected a bit more from him. I know he's obviously struggling from injuries, but I do think I was hoping a bit more progression. But I think 82 is pretty strong overall. And for a fullback, I think the highest fullback is an 87. So I think he will be getting up there. I wouldn't be surprised to see him as an 84 or 85 if he has a really good season this year. So next we have Nicholas Sewell. He had an 84 overall last season. I'm going to give him an 83. I do think that obviously Bayern Munich had a bit of a weaker defensive season last year under Hansi Flick, but 83 is still strong overall, and I do think he showed some excellence in dribbling, but just in defensive capabilities, I think that Sewell was a little bit off last season, so that for reason I'm going to give him an 83. Next, I'm going to go for Kingsley Coman. He had an 84 overall card last year. I'm going to reduce him down to an 83. I don't think he's been very great for Bayern Munich in the last few years. I obviously am super grateful for that Champions League goal and that he won that game for us, but I haven't been super impressed. I'm going to give him an 83. I think he's been particularly wasteful, especially last season. Next, we have Leroy Sane. This is an interesting one because he has an 85 overall, and many going into last year said he should have been higher than 85. Just because of that injury, he was kind of set back-to-back years when he was super young. He had an 85 overall. But this year, I'm going to drop him down to an 84 overall. We expected more from him, but still 84. We all know how talented he is. I think 84 is a great rating for him. I don't think he can complain with that. But if he does, pick up the form like he has been, I wouldn't be surprised to see him at an 86 or 87 in FIFA 23. Next, we have Lucas Hernandez, which has been, I think, Bayern Munich's best defender last season. I know a lot of people would agree with me on that statement. He was incredible last season. I know he was injured for a bit of it, but what I did see of him, I really, really, really liked. As I said, definitely Bayern Munich's defender of the season last year, so I think he's going to get an increase to an 84 overall this season, and I wouldn't be surprised if he keeps it up, maybe get to an 85 or 86 with another really solid season. So I think 84 is very good for him. And next we have Marcel Subitzer, our acquisition from RB Leipzig. So last year he had an 83 overall. I'm going to give him an 85 this year. I think he had a good showing with Austria at the Euros, and I think he had a really, really good season at Leipzig. So I don't think there's any reason why he should get any lower than 85. I'd be surprised if he got anything else. Next we have Serge Nabri. He had an 85 overall last season, which I think he deserved probably an 86, but now I'm going to give him that 86 overall he deserved. Obviously, last season was a bit of a drop-off after that crazy Champions League season he had in 2019-2020 that we all love so much. But I do think he's going to get that 86. As I said, it takes a while for people to get upgraded in FIFA, and just showing consistency will upgrade your overall over time. I do think that Nabri didn't really step up and excel over what he did the year prior, but I think just showing that consistency and showing he can do it will get him that 86 overall. Next, we have Leon Gretzky, so someone I'm expecting to get a large upgrade. He was an 84 overall in FIFA 21. I'm going to go bold prediction. I think he's going to get an 87 overall in FIFA 22. I know it's a big upgrade, but I really do think that Leon Gretzky was probably on the brink of an 85 last year anyways. So I do think 87 is a fair. He had an incredible season, and I think he's a fan favorite. I really do see them getting that 87 overall, and maybe potentially being the first gold card ever, if I'm right, to get all 80 overall stats, base stats on the gold card, which I don't know if they're going to do that. I don't know if they even want to have somebody, a base card that has all 80 overall stats. But, I wouldn't be surprised if Leon Gretzky got one. If it's going to be anyone, it's going to be him. Next, we have a player who's been criminally underrated and undervalued in FIFA games over his entire career, to be honest. Last year he was an 86. I think the year before he was an 85. But I always thought he was better than that. I think last year he started an 87 or 88. Obviously, he's been getting an incredible amount of assists. And a big reason why Levanowski is so successful at Bayern. So I'm going to give him an 88 overall this year. I don't think it's going to be a great card. I just think the way Muller plays just doesn't create for a good FIFA player. But obviously, I do think he's incredible in real life. I love Muller, and I think he's going to get an 80 overall. I think is very fair. Just a little disclaimer, I do know the next three players' overalls as they were already released. However, I already had made my predictions for the overall before this came out, so I'll tell you what my overall predictions were and now what they have actually been announced to be. So Kimmich was an 88 overall CDM last season, and I predicted him to be a 90 overall. They gave him an 89 overall this season, so at least he got some bump. But I was actually disappointed that he did not get that 90 overall. I know N'Golo Kante has also been given a 90 overall. I'm not disclaiming the fact that Kante is an exceptional midfielder, one of the best midfielders in the world, but I do think that Kimmich should be put on the same level as Kante. I don't want to see him, that tier below. So I really do think Kimmich deserved the 90 overall. He's got the 89, but, maybe next year he'll get the 90. Now the next player, Emanuel Neuer, has been given an upgrade, which is actually kind of surprising to me that he was given an upgrade after last season. I know I thought he already should have been a 90, but I don't know why he received an upgrade after last season, which was probably a bit of a drop-off from the 2019-2020 season. Either way, Neuer's back up to a 90 from an 89. I'm happy with him being 90. I'm just kind of confused about the circumstances of how he got there. But I do definitely think he is the best goalie of all time, and 90 overall is a very fitting stat for him. Lastly, Bayern Munich's best player, Levanowski. I think he should be a 92 overall. He has received that 92 overall card. He was a 91 last year, which I was very, very disappointed with. I was pretty outraged he didn't receive a 92 overall last year, but he did receive a 92 overall this year, and he was now the second highest overall player in FIFA, which we can't be disappointed about at all. He's actually a stat higher than Ronaldo, who's only 91. So, I wouldn't go as far as putting Ronaldo a step below Levanowski. I would put them both on the same level. So I was actually disappointed to see Ronaldo only a 91. But, seeing Levanowski at the second highest rated player in the game is awesome. It's been I don't know the last time Bayern Munich has had a player this high rated at a 92 overall. So this is incredible news, and it should be a pretty fun team to use next year. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, whether you play FIFA or not. But if you did, make sure to leave a like and a comment, and let me know what ratings you think the Bayern Munich players should get. If you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure to leave a subscribe. We'll be posting much more tier lists, match previews, match reactions, and plenty more fun content in the future. So make sure to catch it all at Talking Bayern. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, Mia Samia.